A lot has gone on over the weekend, but one of the hottest topics was this year's NFL draft, and it was the humbling of college quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Now, he's the son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, and I guess he was expected to be chosen in the first round, but ended up not being. He was chosen in round 5, and when he was finally picked up by the Cleveland Browns, people were saying, hey, maybe you had too much confidence or you were too arrogant. He has a custom draft day room built in his house, and he has a history of talking himself up. And so take a look, and then I'll ask you the question.
If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the coach, that don't give me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over, and I've done it over and over and over, so it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me. You think I'm worried about what critics say or what people gotta say? You know who my dad is? They hated on him too. So it's like, it's almost normal. Without people hating, it's not normal for us. So we like the adversity, we like everything that comes with the name. That's why we are who we are.
So, what do you think? What do you think the issue was? Or was there an issue? Or is this just how the draft goes and sometimes people can't see the future? Things happen and you don't know.
I'm officially into sports. It has more drama than Housewives. I was watching baseball this weekend and the NFL draft, and I'm very invested.
What about basketball?
I know I didn't watch basketball, but I'll get into that next. This was interesting, and I dug deep into it, knowing I'm a newcomer to the NFL. And what I saw was a lot of reporters saying that so that Sanders didn't actually, in his interviews that they do beforehand, that he kind of botched the interviews and sort of expressed, you know, this is the way I would want to do it. And at times when he was questioned about things that happened, sort of blamed teammates. And I see this as we talk a lot about helicopter parenting and the pros and cons of it. I'm not a parent yet, so far be it from me to dig, but I think there's a balance between giving confidence to your kids and then giving sort of an arrogant cockiness that can hurt them. And so Deion Sanders, a legend who everyone thinks is incredible, is also saying, I want to coach him. So if you're an NFL coach thinking, oh, maybe I want to recruit this kid, you're like, wait, and then is Deion Sanders coming for my job? And he might be hard to kind of work with the team and somebody who's challenging. So I think the talent is there. No one is arguing that this man is an incredibly talented, but I think it's a lesson in you're kind of choosing the whole of person for a team.
Well, I gotta tell you, I spent all damn weekend trying to avoid talking about this because my husband sees the NFL draft like a religious experience. He studies for it. It is 3 days when he cannot be bothered at all about anything, and he's really been trying to engage me on this, and I've been saying I'm not interested. So I hope he's not watching because he's gonna say, you see, I could have told you what to say. But I'm just gonna say a few things. First of all, anytime you start a sentence with, you know who my father is,
yeah,
it tells the world that you are a Nepo baby and that they come in every gender, color, and, ethnicity. So I think that comes with red flags because people, it feels entitled, it feels privileged. I know nothing about what this kid's ranking is or this man's ranking is, but I do know that there was another entitled kid and another entitled child who was involved in this saga and drama this weekend, and it was the son of the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator. I'm reading all this because I don't know their names. Jeff Ulbrich, and the son is Jax Ulbrich, another 21-year-old son who made a prank call. I guess that Deion Sanders' son had a specially dedicated phone just to get the NFL draft call. And somehow this kid, Jax Ulbrich, got it off his father's computer and made a prank call. That's pretty horrible.
Yeah,
that's pretty horrible. And I think that if we're going to talk about one kid being entitled, we need to talk about the other kid being entitled. And honestly, I don't know what the consequences are, but there should be some consequences.
But apparently there aren't going to be consequences.
Well, I guess if there's no consequences for Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
Why start now?
Look, Shedeur Sanders was 8th in Heisman voting. He was Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year for 2024. He's first team All Big 12 2024. This is someone with incredible talent. He's a quarterback. Quarterbacks do tend to be leaders. They lead their team. I haven't met a quarterback that isn't confident. And what I don't like about the narrative is I think people are conflating arrogance with confidence. And I don't understand why he has to dim his light to make other people feel a little more comfortable. That's I don't like that narrative. And, when they say he's too arrogant, well, for who? His father coached him to be great. I tell my own children, who I'm sure people call Nepo babies, you belong in all spaces. That is not to say that you are arrogant. It means you belong.
But
And
do they
that
begin
kid
the
earned
sentence
it.
with, "Do you know who my mother is"?
But if you heard what he said was, do you know who my father is? I've had to deal with this my whole life. So to take away from his accomplishments by calling him a Nepo baby and by calling him arrogant, I just don't. I won't agree with that narrative, and I think he's going to go to the Cleveland Browns, and I think he is going to be a game changer, and I think he's going to become a starting quarterback because they need it.
Well, and I think
I do.
So I tend to disagree slightly with Sonny because I do think there's a fine line between an overly arrogant person and a confident person, because I believe when you come into a new institution, you come in with a certain amount of humility. You're the new guy, whether you were the star your whole life or not, you come into new places and you start again earning your stripes with a certain amount of reverence to the legends that came before you, even your father. I also think Bruce Feldman of The Athletic science summed it up really well. He said he's been a star quarterback his whole life. The role he's going to play on this next team is a backup quarterback. Usually the starting quarterback has a lot of say to the personalities and the camaraderie of the people that will come in behind him as a leader. And I think that anytime you come in with the distraction that probably follows this, that all of this is being weighed into what the team's going to deal with. Because, by the way, any team that picks him is going to deal with his legendary Hall of Famer father commenting, because the father's been the coach of him the whole time. So I think there's a lot that goes into this. But I also think humility is a great lesson, and I'm sure the way it looked when he got his call, that brought him down a little bit, and that's what the NFL will do to you. So it's probably good to get that now.
But wasn't Tom Brady drafted like one of the last two?
He was.
So
he did all right.
So this, if he ends up being,
and this kid's going to do all right.
If he ends up being a great athlete, this is going to be a blip in his history.
Yeah,
and so now it's time to.
Well,
show
one of the things that you always have to keep in mind is that, everybody has something to say. It's like when I say to us, don't say your movie's getting Oscar buzz. Don't do that, because it starts to put things in people's minds, and even though they don't want to think about it, they do. Now, he had several obstacles, and one is his dad has been his only coach.
Yes.
That I think is one of the biggest reasons they were not sure what they wanted to do. And who is making these decisions? These aren't being made by us. These are decisions made by people who know the game, who know what they need, who know what they need on their team. So it doesn't matter where you get picked, you got picked. And your job now is to be everything everybody thinks you are and more.
Yep.
See, this is why you also have to teach your children that, Muhammad Ali was the greatest boxer in my lifetime. Sure. Was the greatest of all time. And you couldn't get more confident than Ali.
They used to call him arrogant all the time.
They used to call him arrogant all the time, but they'd whisper it because they knew that he could actually back everything.
Right.
So you want to make sure that when you're walking with that, you got to walk in that excellence outside of other people's lights. And you have to create your own light. That's how you prove to them who you are. You walk in your own light.